What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality Podcast. I am your host. I am Caitlin Kenneth Smith. And on today's podcast episode, we're going to talk about something that probably all of you are either encountering now or have encountered in the past, or, hey, I'm going to help you prevent from encountering it in the future, because we're going to talk about how so many people overcomplicate fat loss and how you actually earn results through fat loss. I know that a lot of people who are listening to this have some sort of a fitness goal, whether it be fat loss related, building muscle related, performance related, but no matter what kind of goal you're trying to chase, all of these things kind of do apply in some way, shape, or form. And I'll get more specific with it when I dive into the main points of the episode, but the biggest thing that I need you to understand is you don't need another quick fix. You don't need a detox. You don't need to cut out a food group like carbs or fats. You don't need to work out 7 days a week or be in the gym for 2 hours in order to see results. And that's those are the biggest mistakes that people make. They go so hard, so fast that they can't sustain it. And maybe they see results for a little bit, but then over time, the amount of stress that you're putting on your body exceeds to what your body can actually recover and adapt from. So you're not going to earn any more results. So think about it like this. If you did an 8-week challenge, because that's such a popular thing that people do, and you lost 8 pounds during that challenge, that's phenomenal. You lost 1 pound a week. But by the time you get to the end of that challenge, you're so burnt out physically and emotionally that you can't see yourself sustaining it. And you're just so excited to kind of go off on your diet and go get some pizza, which, it's all part of it. You're allowed to have those things in moderation. But the problem is then you can't continue on. And now the 8 pounds that you lost, you gain it all back and then some. Or you lose the 8 pounds during the 8-week challenge and you're pumped. But what if I told you could have lost 10 to 12 pounds or completely changed your body recomposition, and instead of focusing on the scale, you lost 2 to 3% body fat instead, because you did it the right way. You did it in the way that is sustainable, in the way that supports your body's best recovery. And I know that it's kind of confusing, because with a lot of people, they believe that the more that I do, the better that I'm going to get out of it. And that is true to an extent. Obviously, you can only go so far when it comes to fitness, because your body can only recover from X amount of stress. And that's going to be different from each person, because it depends on where you're at in your life. It depends on what your experience is with training, what your physical capabilities are, but also the amount of stress that you have in your life outside of working out. Somebody who does one workout program and somebody else who does the same workout program, if that first person is a single mom, has a full-time job, versus the other person who has absolutely no responsibilities outside of themselves, the mom is probably doing too much and isn't going to see as good a results as the other person, because she just has so much stress. So she needs to keep that in mind when she's picking and choosing the intensity and the duration of her workouts and training, and the amount of calories that she's intaking, because stress requires more calories to recover from. So if you're stuck in a fat loss cycle and you're wondering why nothing is working, or why you feel like things aren't moving as fast as they should, it's probably not your effort. It's probably your strategy, or sometimes, a lot of times, your lack of consistency with the basics. People like to major in the minors when it comes to fat loss. They like to focus on the things that really don't matter that much and then ignore the things that really matter. Like, I get the question a lot, like, when is the best time to do my cardio? Like, should I be doing it in the morning? Is that the best time because I'm going to burn the most fat? Should I be doing it fasted? Should I be doing it before my weight training? Should I be doing it after my weight training? And my answer to that is whatever is going to be giving you the amount, whichever one you're going to be the most consistent with is always the answer. But it always depends. It depends on the person. So in this case scenario, if your goal is to become a better runner and endurance is your priority, then you should do your cardio before your strength training, because the priority is with your endurance training. If you're somebody who's focused on fat loss, you should be doing your strength training before anything else, because your strength training is the thing that's going to drive your fat loss the most. In fact, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, I would argue that a lot of people are doing way too much cardio than they actually need to be or should be. And they're ruining their results because they're doing too much. But so many people are stuck in the thought process of, I just need to move more and eat less, and then I'll lose weight. But that's not correct. The biggest driver of fat loss that I want you to take away from this episode is muscle. Muscle is the organ of longevity and is the organ that supports our metabolism the most. So a lot of things impact metabolism. One of the things is genetics, but another one of the things is the amount of muscle mass that you have in your body, and that is something you can control. Can you control your genetics? No, not really, unless you went back in time and you were able to somehow control who your parents were. But you can always control your muscle because you can control the amount of strength training that you're doing, the amount of recovery that you're doing, the foods that you're eating, the types of foods that you're eating, the amount of sleep that you're getting, and the amount of stress reduction that you're doing, which I would argue a lot of people probably aren't doing a lot of that. So in this episode, I'm going to break down exactly what's actually required to lose body fat. No bullshit, no gimmicks, no trends, just the truth, because that's what the powerhouse mentality is all about. I want to kind of be your bullshit navigator to help you navigate through all the bullshit that's on the internet right now. And that's one of the biggest problems. And I encountered it when I first started my fitness journey 12 years ago. And we have way more information available to us now than we did 12 years ago. Like right now, you could go on to ChatGPT and you can type in, give me the best diet or give me the best workout program. And you're going to get an answer in like 5 seconds. Or you can Google something and you're going to get so many different answers, all of them probably contradicting. And if you go on social media, same thing. You'll scroll to one reel and that one reel will say one thing. The next reel will say the exact opposite. Back when I started my fitness journey 12 years ago, Instagram was just becoming a thing and it was just pictures, and not a lot of people actually knew how to market on Instagram. So it wasn't the same that it is today. It was more like Facebook with pictures. And when I started 12 years ago, I was overwhelmed by the amount of information that was out there. And I look back and I think, oh, holy shit, I knew nothing. And all the information that I was looking at was so terrible for me. And a lot of us can probably look back and think that. And I want to help you kind of navigate that bullshit. That's one of the biggest reasons why I do what I do, why I have the podcast, why I coach people, why I've been a coach for as long as I've been a coach, is because I am passionate about helping people become the best version of themselves, not just through fitness and nutrition, but also through mindset. But the biggest thing that we have is our health. And if you don't care for your health, and if you are constantly falling for gimmicks and you're constantly being taken advantage of by marketing, then you're never going to be able to be your healthiest self. So let's navigate the bullshit together. A couple main points I want to make here, guys. And this is a lot of the mistakes that I see people make. All right. So number one, you're eating healthy, quote, but not in a deficit. So the most important thing that's required for fat loss is a calorie deficit. We can all get on board with that. I think we've all heard that at multiple times. Not just eating healthy. Because the amount of times that I have a client who comes to me and we're sitting down, we're doing our consult call and we're going over their nutrition and they tell me, oh yeah, I eat healthy. And then they break down what they're eating. And I'm like, you're not really eating healthy, number one, because what marketing deems as healthy maybe isn't healthy. Because when I think of healthy, because first of all, what does healthy even mean? But when I think of healthy, I think of nutrient-dense foods. I think of whole nutrient-dense foods that support our body, our energy, our mood, our digestion, our performance. So what's healthy for me might not be healthy for you. So healthy is just such a generic term. But if somebody tells me they're eating healthy and I see that they're eating a lot of foods that are processed, that are fast foods, that are like marketed as high protein and healthy, but they're not just whole foods, it can be a little bit confusing. And again, it's one of those things where if I reach for the Cheerios that say protein Cheerios, I'm making a good decision is what I think. And yeah, it could be, right? Because I don't want to label foods as good or bad. But at the end of the day, the point that I'm trying to make here is if you have absolutely no idea how much food you are intaking, there is no way that you're going to be able to understand if you're in a calorie deficit or not. The only way to actually know if you're in a calorie deficit is to track your nutrition and then monitor your progress. So it's a little bit of trial and error, and people don't want to hear that. They want a straight answer. They want somebody to tell them exactly how much to eat, exactly when to eat it and exactly what to eat. And I can give you a good template. I can give you a baseline. However, we're going to have to do some trial and error, because what I find with a lot of people is that every single person I've ever worked with is different. Some people respond to some things. Some people don't respond to those things. But the biggest thing across all the boards that I've found is that protein intake is extremely important for everyone. And the more whole foods that we consume, the better your results are. Gone are the days where you can eat protein shakes and Pop-Tarts and see great results. Technically, yes, if you're in a calorie deficit, you will see results doing that. If you're hitting your protein goal, you're in a calorie deficit, it technically doesn't matter where you get those calories from. However, what matters is if I'm eating protein shakes and Pop-Tarts all day long, I'm going to feel like shit, which means I'm not going to be able to perform very well in the gym. My digestion is going to be terrible. I'm going to be inflamed, which is going to lead to my hormones being imbalanced, and it's going to lead to problems down the line. So maybe you see initial results, but again, unsustainable, and eventually your body revolts. So the best thing that I've seen for clients is to have a focus on quantity with an emphasis on quality of food. There's no right answer. I wish I could tell you that it's like very black and white, but it's kind of like a little bit of gray area, because the human body and the metabolism is such a unique and such a complicated thing. So for somebody to say that, like, hey, yeah, these are the exact calories that you need to eat in order to lose weight, it's like, I'm not sure yet, because I like to give my clients a range, because there's no perfect number. But I know that if we're getting into this range, we're going to be okay. And a lot of times what I do for clients is I have them track for 10 to 14 days when they first start, whether they've ever tracked before or not, and we get a baseline of how much they're eating normally without making any sort of changes, not trying to impress me. Naturally, they usually try to impress me because they start eating a little bit cleaner, or they start managing their portion sizes a little bit better. They're eating more whole foods. They're not eating out as much. So naturally, they probably start to see a little bit of results in those first 2 weeks. But unless we do this data and unless we do it accurately, we're never going to be able to be on the right path. So we track for 2 weeks and we monitor progress through the scale, through photos, through energy, through digestion, through performance in the gym, through how our clothes are fitting, things like that. So tracking gives us data, but it doesn't have to be restrictive. Some people look at it as, I don't want to track my macros, I don't want to track my calories because I don't want to become obsessed with it, and I don't want it to lead to restriction. That's a mindset that I think needs to be thrown out the window, because it's absolutely false. It's your perception. You think tracking macros is hard, thus you don't do it. However, when you start tracking macros, it's not as hard as you thought it was. And everything is hard when you first start doing it. Walking when you were a child was really hard when you first started walking. Now you walk without even thinking about it. So that's how I want you to look at macro tracking. If you've never done it before, or if you've never done it for a long period of time, yeah, it's going to be difficult and it's going to be annoying at first. That's with anything. But if you're truly serious about getting results, this is the way to do it. Other than that, you're going to be just like throwing darts in the dark and you're trying to hit this target, but you can't even fucking see the target. It's really difficult to see results when you have no idea what you're doing. So tracking macros, you can view it as annoying. It's not. It's your perception towards it. But if you do view it as annoying, think about how annoying it's going to be 6 months down the road where you're still trying to lose the same 5 pounds. That's really annoying. So you can't change what you're not aware of. That's the biggest point that I want you to take away from this first point is you're eating healthy, but you can't even identify what that means. So you can't out-discipline a miscalculated intake. I don't care how fucking strict you are with your diet. I don't care how much you avoid all of these things. If you're not able to tell me how much you're intaking, then it doesn't matter. Your discipline doesn't matter because your calculations are off. So if you're first getting started here, track your food. There are so many different apps out there. I personally use the First Form app. Some of my clients use that. Some of my clients use MyFitnessPal. I have one client who uses Chronometer. I have another client who uses Lose It. There are so many different apps that you can use. But the biggest thing is when you track your food, don't just say 4-ounce chicken breast and guesstimate what that is because you're miscalculating it, I can promise you. We usually underestimate how much food is on our plate. So what I need you to do is I need you to go down to Walmart or go over to Amazon, whatever's easiest for you, and I want you to buy the cheapest food scale you can possibly find. Just make sure it's digital, because if it's not digital, that is a pain in the ass and you're not going to use it. So get a digital food scale and actually understand what portions look like. You don't have to weigh and measure your food forever, but I do believe that every single person needs to do it for a period of time in order to actually see what a portion size looks like. Weigh out your peanut butter, you will cry. Weigh out a bowl of cereal, you were having probably 4 of those. Weigh out your chicken breast that you thought was 4 ounces, it's probably like 2, and now you're sad because you have to eat more protein. But guess what? That means you get to eat more and lose weight. That's a win. So that first point, the biggest takeaway is you have to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose body fat. You have to prioritize protein. Ideally, for most clients, unless you have some sort of a kidney issue or some sort of a pre-existing condition, that's going to be 1 gram per pound of your goal body weight or current body weight. And that's a minimum. So a lot of my clients eat more than that because I've seen that they get better results when they eat that way, as long as it's not impacting their digestion negatively. I also have them focus on fiber. So usually between 25 to 45 grams, depending if you're male or female, depending on how much you're eating, and then focusing on a calorie range. So if your calorie goal is 1,800, I usually have them aim for 1,700 to 1,900. So you have like a little bit of a 100 calorie buffer, so that way you don't feel like you're obsessing with that one number, and you're not failing if you don't hit that number specifically. You're still creating momentum and consistency. Number 2, you're doing too much cardio and you're not lifting weights enough. Stop going on the fucking treadmill and the elliptical and being on that thing for 60 minutes and calling it a day. Stop doing that. You are wasting your time. Literally wasting your time. Cardio does not build muscle. Period. End of story. But Caitlin, I'm on the Stairmaster. Cardio does not build muscle, period, end of story. Just because your booty burns when you're on the Stairmaster doesn't mean that you're building muscle. The burn doesn't mean you're building muscle. Sweat doesn't mean you're seeing results in burning calories. Soreness doesn't indicate a good workout. Forget those things. Those things do not matter. What matters is that you're focusing on progressive overload with strength training, which means that you're following a progressive program and you're lifting weights with intention and intensity 3 to 5 days a week, depending on your goals, depending on how much time you have, depending on how long you've been doing this for, your level of experience. But the biggest thing that I see with people is that they overdo cardio, which leads to muscle loss, which actually allows you to burn less calories at rest, which means you have to eat even less to see fat loss results, which eventually becomes unsustainable. Your hunger spikes when you do excessive cardio, and now you can't be in a calorie deficit because you're always so hungry, and eventually you burn out because your body adapts to that cardio. So that hour-long treadmill session that once burned 200 calories or 300 calories now burns 150 or 200. It burns less over time because your body becomes more efficient. That's just how our bodies have adapted to life. We are meant to become more efficient at things so we don't starve and die. The thing with weight training is if we're progressively overloading, we're increasing the weights, we're increasing the reps, we're doing different sets, we're manipulating tempo, we're manipulating exercise. We're not going to adapt to it. We're going to see results. We're going to break down the muscle tissue during the workout, rebuild it as we recover, which recovery is with sleep, is with nutrition. So all of these things matter. So the pyramid or the triangle or the fucking house of success when it comes to fat loss literally lies in 3 pillars: strength training, nutrition, recovery. And recovery goes with sleep, it goes with stress management, and nutrition, really emphasis on protein and calories, fiber, and making sure that you're not depriving yourself of essential nutrients. So get off the treadmill. If you're listening to this on the treadmill and you've already done your strength training, good for you. You did your strength training. Now, here's what I don't want you to think. I don't want you to think that cardio is completely useless, because it's not. It's unbelievable. I do a ton of cardio because I'm training to become a professional CrossFit athlete. So I do a lot of cardio. I do a lot of conditioning. But I don't want you to mistake me telling you, like, don't do any cardio for you being like, oh, I shouldn't go on walks and stuff. Cool, I won't do that. I want you to think of it like this. 3 to 5 days a week, you're doing strength training workouts. But every day you're focusing on movement through walking. So focusing on hitting a particular step goal. A lot of people like to fall into that 10,000 steps so that you're moving throughout your day, because movement is medicine. So don't think that me telling you cardio is bad for fat loss means, oh, I shouldn't walk or do anything. No, I mean, running isn't going to burn fat. Hopping on the elliptical for 90 minutes ain't burning more fat. Building muscle burns more fat. Focusing on steps will help you burn more calories throughout your day and just helps with everything. And then your nutrition is the biggest pillar here. The third thing is that you're inconsistent on the weekends. That's when you fall off. This is very common. Very, very common. A lot of people are really good Monday through Thursday, maybe even Friday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, they fall off is how they express it. And now they're doing damage control on Monday, Tuesday. So weekend habits are usually the missing link for a lot of people. And the way that I want you to think about this is treat the weekends like you do the weekdays. Your habits are different on the weekends. Your schedule is different on the weekends. You have a little bit more flexibility, which usually leads to people not having structure, which is what leads to them not being able to stay consistent. So focus on having a plan, preparing ahead of time. What I do on Friday night is I make sure that I prep chicken, I prep steak, and I prep rice. So I'm all ready to go. I have absolutely no excuses. I make sure that before heading into each day, I know exactly what my meals are going to look like. And God forbid something happens, I can adapt and pivot and make the best decision that's right in front of me. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you tell yourself, when it comes to nutrition, there is literally always a solution. I don't give a shit what you say. I really don't, because I've been in every situation throughout my whole nutrition journey, and I've always made it work. Yeah, sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes I have to go out of my way, but I always make it work. Like if you're on the road and you can't find food and you're like, oh, I'll just pull into the drive-thru, go to a grocery store and buy ready-to-made foods instead. Way better for you. Make a sandwich. There's tons of grocery stores. There's a Walmart like everywhere. There's always an option. And a lot of it comes down to you're just not preparing. And then you're using the excuses, I just didn't know what to do. It's because you didn't prepare. So take personal responsibility and focus on the weekends and treating them like your weekdays. Because the reality is fat loss doesn't happen unless you focus on consistency. It's never going to be perfect, but if you can't be consistent, you're never going to see results. So understand that you're not stuck, but you're just starting over every single weekend, and that's a problem. Number 4 is you're expecting instant results from a long game. This one, very, very simple to understand. Fat loss takes time. It takes patience. Anything does. But we live in a world today where results are expected at the snap of the fingers. We can order on Amazon. It can be here in a few hours. That's not how fat loss works. You tried it for 2 weeks. Cool. It doesn't take 2 weeks to see results. The amount of times that I have clients come to me and they're like, I am so frustrated. I'm doing everything right, but I'm not seeing results. And then I ask them, how many days have they actually been consistent for? And they tell me 5, 6, 7. Well, of course you're not fucking seeing results. You've been doing it for 6 days. Give yourself 90 days of consistency and then ask yourself if you're not seeing results. And I mean true consistency, not, oh, I had a good week, and then I had a bad week, and then I had a good week, and then I had 2 bad weeks. Like 90 days of committing to yourself. Like actually commit to yourself. Because this one is the most frustrating for me as a coach. Because I get it. Like we live in a world through instant gratification, but you have not done the work to earn the results yet. You have not. You've done 3 days of hitting your protein goal. Good job. But we need to do more than that. The scale is going to fluctuate. It's not the only metric that's important. So understand that fat loss is not linear either. I can use an example for myself. I'm not on a fat loss journey, but I weigh myself every single day. Every single day, or every single week rather, after my rest day, the weight is up. That doesn't mean that I gained 2 pounds of fat overnight. It means that I have glycogen in my muscles. That's energy, and that's going to help me with my workouts. It means that I'm inflamed. Could be. Understand that the scale is not the most important metric here. Performance, energy, photos, how your clothes are fitting, those matter more. So don't try. Sorry, that's not what I meant. Stick to the plan longer than 2 weeks. Commit to 90 days of true consistency. And if you feel like you can't do that, number one, you can. You can literally do anything that you want in your life. The only thing that's stopping you is you and the way that you perceive yourself. Hi, I'm a coach and I help people get results. Shoot me a message. I'd love to help you. It helps to have somebody who supports you, holds you accountable, and actually allows you to keep the commitments that you make to yourself. And the fifth one, the final point I'm going to make tonight, is that you're focused on discipline, not systems. Discipline is great. I teach discipline all the time. You know that. But the reality is, discipline isn't going to get you there. You actually have to have systems that make consistency easier. So have a go-to grocery list, have a basic template that you follow for your meals, have a training regimen and routine, because decision fatigue often kills results. I want you to really think about that. Decision fatigue kills results. If I put 15 workout programs in front of you and told you to pick one, you'd probably sit there for 3 weeks before you actually did anything. Or, which is what happens to a lot of people, you sit there for 3 weeks twiddling your thumbs thinking about what's going to be the perfect plan, and then you say, I don't know, so I'm just not going to do anything. Uh-oh, was that you? I think it was. Keep it simple. I have people ask me all the time, what's your recipes for meal prep? What's this? Keep it simple. I literally prep chicken, rice, steak. I prep a couple carbs. I prep a couple proteins, and I throw them all together. Makes it so easy. I eat the same food every day because it's what works for me, and I love it. And it's so easy. I'm training to become a professional athlete. I'm running multiple businesses. I'm a coach to multiple clients. Many, many people rely on me on a daily basis. If my meals aren't easy, it's not happening. But the reality is, if it matters to me, I'm going to make it happen, and I always do, because guess what? It matters to me. So make it matter to you. So my challenge for you guys, because I always want to give you something to take away from episodes. I don't want you to just take in all the information, because as we know, knowledge is not power, but applied knowledge is power. Knowledge only has the power, or has potential power, but it's how you use it that matters. I want you to pick one thing you've been avoiding, whether that be tracking, meal prep, lifting weights, coming up with a program to follow, or maybe committing to a coach that you know you should probably invest in. And I want you to commit to it for the next 10 days. And then after the next 10 days, I want you to commit to it for another 10 days. Because the only way that you're going to get better is by proving to yourself that simplicity works when you actually do it. So share this episode with a friend who's been jumping on the next shiny diet, or keep listening to it for yourself. And if you're tired of guessing, shoot me a DM, shoot me a message, shoot me an email, and I'll be able to help you out, whether it be with the group coaching in the Powerhouse Collective, or if you're in for one-on-one coaching. I know that a lot of people just need help, and that's why I'm here. So go out today and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.